Tara and I
We are
both
good to
awake.
start. Yes.
Hey,
I can catch people up. Laurel, if you let me know people are joining later, I can catch them up if they have questions.
Okay, great. So I am really happy, genuinely happy to welcome you to this event that we have tonight. I'm excited. This is my thing. So I'm really happy that you've all joined us. We have people, our wonderful alumni joining us from 14 different states and the UK this evening. So we're all across the nation, including Tara, who's in New York. And we're so glad that you are all here with us this evening. I am the past president of the Alumni Association, and I'm also on the foundation board. And it's my honor to be a really proud Aggie. If I flipped my camera around, you could see my huge Utah State flag in the window. And I'm just really grateful that you're all here with us during this homecoming week, and that our amazing team of alumni support have put this event together. Thanks especially to Sheldon and Kim for putting this together and for being creative about how we gather as alumni during this pandemic. And also, I think, some of these things are going to continue on. I'd like to introduce to you Kristen Munson, who is actually going to do Tara's introduction. Kristen had the opportunity to interview Tara when she was writing about her for the Utah State magazine. She's been with the magazine, which is our alumni magazine, for the past 4 years, and she had the opportunity to interview Tara, and she has chatted me and said that the pesto lasagna is her favorite, so maybe she can mention that. She's the mom to 2 little sous chefs in training, and I will turn it over to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Laurel. I am really delighted to introduce Tara to you all because to me, she really epitomizes what it means to carve your own path. And Tara's culinary education began the way I think many of ours do, which is with a loved one in the kitchen. And Tara's mom, though, was a home economics teacher, so she kind of has a leg up on many of our moms. And she really instilled in Tara a passion for food that continued on to college. And I'm going to be honest and let people know that Tara initially enrolled at BYU to study food science, which we will forgive her for, before transferring to Utah State and to get that hands-on experience in the culinary arts program. And it was here that she actually met Tammy Steinitz, who at the time was the program director. And together we became partners in exploring the different corners of the food world, because unlike many of her classmates, Tara did not want to become a caterer or kind of a traditional chef. She told Tammy that she wanted to know who makes the food in the food magazines. And Tammy did not know. So they went exploring together. And they learned about food styling, food publishing, and I believe Tara sent a resume around to the different food magazines and landed an internship with Martha Stewart, who you may have heard of. Tara spent years developing recipes for her publications and working as a food editor for Martha Stewart Living, and then as the food director for Ladies Home Journal. And you may also recognize Tara from her appearances on the Today Show. And a year ago, she published her first cookbook, and I just learned that she is closing on her second, so we'll have to stay tuned. And personally, I have found the cookbook extremely inspiring during the pandemic, when it was just an endless meal planning and dishes in the sink. And I'm really pleased that she's here cooking with us tonight.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'll take it away. Laurel, you don't have any other housekeeping or anything, right?
Nope, nothing other than to say I'm moderating tonight, and so I will watch the chat. So if anybody has any questions, you can either message me directly, or you can message everyone, and I will just interrupt you occasionally and let you know what questions are coming in.
Perfect, thank you. And Kristen, thank you so much for that introduction and the beautiful article you wrote last year, and just your partnership. So thanks.
Well, apparently we're going to need to do a follow-up, so I'm really excited about that.
Yes, next fall, the second cookbook comes out, and it seems immediate, but it's not. We have another year till it comes out, but yeah, thank you. So welcome to everyone. You've been welcome before, but I'm so happy to see some familiar names, some names that I see on social media, and all the new people, welcome. Thanks for coming. And if you are cooking along tonight, some of you may be watching and asking questions, some of you may be cooking along. If you're comfortable, I'd love for you to turn your camera on, because then I know how to pace it. I know if you have questions, or I can see what you're doing. So if you are, throw your camera on. If not, follow along. I will probably need to know how many of you are kind of cooking along the way so that I can pace or slow down or speed up. And feel free to pop into the chat and ask questions. I can't see the chat as I'm going, but Laurel has her eyes on it. So that's why she said she would interrupt me. And she will ask me those questions if they're real time, or if we have some chit chat time, you can ask questions beyond the recipes, of course. So, and also thank you. I think it was Ashley said she loves the empapillote chicken recipe from my cookbook. I did see that comment, and thank you. It's a favorite of mine as well. But let's get cooking. We are making homecoming game food. It could be tailgating food, but it's also easy to cook at home. So that's what we're doing. And I also have a close-up camera that the tech folks will be switching to when you need to see it. And I will probably cut the top of my head off here and show you my workstation so you can see what I'm doing. But we're making ribs, and I call them 3-ingredient ribs. It's literally 3 ingredients, and they're so easy and delicious. And then homemade baked beans that don't take forever, like in a crock pot or anything. My recipe calls for putting them in the oven, but I also make them stovetop and just let them simmer on the stovetop. So easy stuff. If you are cooking along, you probably have the recipes printed out. I have the same printout, and there is an extra line in the recipe, so don't let that skip you up, but we will get to that. What else can I tell you? Have all your ingredients out. I have my ingredients out, and you can kind of see them on the corner of my table. So it's called mise en place, the French word for having everything in its place and being prepared. So I have measured out a few things, but I will be measuring out and cutting with you guys. Just getting my bacon out. I kept it in the fridge, so it's nice and cold. But we will start, actually, I'm going to set this aside. We'll start with the ribs, and then we'll get to the baked beans. So let's see. Laurel, if you can tell, do we have anyone cooking along, or are we doing more of a demonstration?
We have a couple of people who are cooking along, and a lot of people who are just following carefully along.
Mark and Liz. Okay, I see that. I will jump off the chat now. Good. Well, keep me posted on how you're doing. And so our rack of ribs. The recipe calls for 2, and that's because they go fast. Everybody loves these. But I made one earlier so that I can show you the final steps. So the second one I have behind me, but this is the first one. So to prep your ribs, if you haven't already, or if you didn't get them like this, I'm just throwing on some gloves so I can handle meat and not have to scrub my hands so much afterwards. But you can do this with bare hands. And then honestly, soap and water takes care of any foodborne illness or anything. But you are going to want to, let's switch to the close-up camera, and I will show you this lovely rack of ribs setup. So I have baby back ribs. You could also do spare ribs, but I think baby back are perfect for this recipe. Let's see, you can see both cameras. So there is a membrane on the bottom of ribs that I really like to take off. You don't have to. It's edible once it's cooked, but I like it because it makes the ribs easier to cut at the end, and they sort of fall off the bone a little bit easier. but it's very, very thin, and you can kind of see it pulling apart if we can go to the close-up camera. And I use paper towels to grip it, and we're just going to pull it off. Now, if you don't love seeing raw meat preparation, turn away. This is just normal stuff. And sometimes it comes off easier than others. So of course, this probably won't because I'm demonstrating it. Let's see, the other rack that I prepped earlier, it came off beautifully. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be such a good show. We're gonna make this happen. It's really not though. Okay, I think I get it. Oh, good.
It's nice to see that it takes a little work. So if that happens for one of us, that it's not weird.
Yep, you're exactly right. And it may not come off. You can see it. It's if you're in my close-up, let me close that. Sorry, there we go. You can see it. I just can't get a hold of it. So we may leave it on for tonight. But for those of you cooking, if you have luck, you can, oh, there we go. Got a little bit of it. But this is down and dirty meat prep. You can also, if you have an in-store butcher that you use and can talk to at the store, sometimes they'll do it for you. If you buy the ribs and then take it over to them, you can say, hey, will you just take that rib membrane off for me? So I got a little bit of it off, but we didn't get the rest. And this is a beautiful rack, so we'll move on from here. So the next step is you will want to, this is my little trick for being very clean and food safe. I have my salt container, but this recipe calls for salt. So I'm going to put my salt in a separate bowl so that I can just reach in with and not transfer any meat to my general salt holder. So that's about 2 teaspoons. That's what it calls for. So I have my salt, I have my ribs. The next thing before you go any further is to turn your oven on. So I'm going to get my oven heating to about 400 degrees. And then we're going to prep our pan with aluminum foil. So I have done that, and I'm going to talk you through that. It says heavy duty aluminum foil or a double layer. I kind of did both. I have heavy duty aluminum foil, which is great, but I technically, I like to double it all the time. You don't have any tears or leaks, and it's just a more stable cooking package when we get the ribs in there. So line your pan with foil, and then we are just going to salt the bottom of these ribs. And it's about a teaspoon per side. And don't be shy about salt. These are just flavored with salt, and then we're going to put our favorite barbecue sauce on them. So salt helps meat taste delicious. So these ribs go on our baking sheet that's lined with our beautiful foil, and then we'll finish salting them on the top.
Tara, I think this is the thing I love about your cookbook, is you have all these little tips and tricks that kind of live alongside, and just little insights, those things that are, you know, like, yeah, somebody mentioned keeping that salt bowl separate. Just these little tiny things that just make the difference.
Well, good. I hope so. And, you know, it's much easier to have, like, to share those things that I've learned along the way in a class like this, rather than in a book. But good. I'm glad you enjoy those. They are really helpful as you get cooking. So I am right now creating like an airtight packet for my ribs. So it doesn't have to be really tight around the ribs. You just want to seal that aluminum foil wherever you think air or liquid could get out. So it's a little noisy. I'm going to wrap it and then talk. There we go. And aluminum foil is great because you can kind of just press and squeeze all of those little places where air or liquid might get out. And what we're doing is we are braising. You might think, oh, we're steaming these ribs, and I don't want steamed ribs, but we're really braising them. We're really giving them that low and slow cooking opportunity so that the meat really tenderizes. And that's what you do On a grill, if you're smoking them, it's low and slow. But we're just speeding up that process because we want ribs now, we want them in an hour. All right, once your oven's hot, these ribs go in just like that. That's it. And they're going to stay in there for like an hour and a half. And I usually check them about an hour 20. They're usually done in an hour 20, but we will stick those in and come back to them later. In they go. Okay, I'm going to get rid of my meat utensils and my meat cutting board. I'm going to set it aside.
Is it important for the oven to be preheated to the temperature you want it before you put the ribs in?
For the ribs, no. For almost anything else, yes. So these ribs, they're cold from the fridge. I haven't let them sit out on my counter for, 30 minutes or anything. So they're quite cold, and that extra boost of heat from the preheating oven won't hurt them.
Okay.
Yes, almost anything else, good question. You want to preheat your oven for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, I am cleaned up for my mess. Now, a lot of times I have extra cutting boards that I will just pull out a clean one. If you need to wash your cutting board, I wash it really well with soap and water, hot water. I often, when I deal with meat and my cutting boards, do a little splash of bleach if you've got that under your counter, and just let that sit on your cutting board for a couple of 30 seconds or a minute. But that's a quick way to clean all of your boards and things like that in between different meats and vegetables and all of that. And then you feel safe, because as cleanly as meat and things are packed, you just don't want to spread any foodborne illness. So we are off. The ribs are in, you guys. It's so easy. And then I will tell you, we'll come back to them. We're going to pull them out, put barbecue sauce, or grill them. I'm going to broil them because I'm in a small New York apartment, and get a little char and then brush them with barbecue sauce. So off we go to the baked beans. Now, these baked beans I created from a recipe that I came up with years ago at a magazine. And it was a very traditional baked bean recipe. So if you want to switch to the close-up, I'll show everybody how I'm quickly dicing this bacon. I like to cut bacon with kitchen shears rather than a knife, because when you try to cut it with a knife, it gets all stringy. If your knife isn't perfectly sharp, it's really hard. So I'm just using kitchen shears and cutting the bacon into about 1/2-inch pieces. It's really easy this way, and you can see in the close-up. But this baked bean recipe, oh my goodness, it's got all of the very traditional flavors. It's a little bit of sweetness from spice and molasses, the richness of the bacon. It's got a little bit of tomato in it. So this is not your grandmother's like canned pork and beans with a little ketchup in it. Although I do use ketchup because it has such a great combination of flavors. But I add all of the flavors, and what they do is they just layer on each other. And so then you get this sort of umami, sweet, savory baked bean that is just kind of like goes with anything. It goes with barbecue, it goes with sandwiches, it goes with, any grilled food in the summer, any tailgating food. All right, we've got our bacon. I'm going to rinse my hands. Okay, I'm going to move my close-up camera in a minute so you can see this bacon, but I have, as you can see, it's just a Dutch oven. You can use your stock pot that you have, but I like to do it in anything from a 5 to a 7 quart Dutch oven. And we don't need any oil in it because bacon has so much fat. Love it. It's good, delicious, extra flavor fat. And that just goes in just like that. And I'm going to put it over, right now I'm going to put it over about medium-high heat, and then just to heat the pan, and then I can reduce the heat in a minute. But let's see, I may take, well, we're gonna chop our onions while that sort of heats up. So watch it closely. If it starts to simmer too much and get too crispy, you'll need to really turn down that heat, but we will check it periodically. All right, here's one of my favorite things to talk about is cutting an onion. It's one of the basic chef skills. And I will show you how I like to hold my chef's knife. If you do not hold your knife like this, I suggest learning and practicing. I have my chef's knife. Okay, we're in the close-up. So a chef's knife is made up of a few different parts. Okay, let's see. I can be wherever I need to be. We have the blade, we have the handle, and we have right here what's called the bolster. And my knives have a nice long tang, which is the part of the knife that's inside the handle. If you don't have these rivets on your knife, your tang probably only comes down part way and is glued into a handle. That's fine. Most really high quality knives will have a full tang. But what I really like is the knives that I have a pretty hefty bolster, and that is right here between the handle and the blade. And I like that because that's where you actually hold on to the knife. So instead of holding onto a chef's knife down here on the handle, you move up and hold the knife by that base of the blade right there on the bolster. And I've got my finger up here, so it's not under the blade by any means. It's curved up just a little, and my thumb is on the other side. What that does is you will feel the difference. So if I am cutting, holding just the handle, my wrist is a little bit floppy. The knife, I don't have as much control. The moment you move up on the knife, it becomes an extension of your hand, and you have much more control, and you can slice and dice and get that tip in where you need it and really control the cut of that knife. I have a few different styles of chef's knife here. I'm going to use my shorter, thicker knife tonight.
Without doing a big brand plug, do you have a few brands that you really love in knives?
Sure, absolutely. And this is not to plug any brand. I really feel like you need to go to the store and feel the knives, and whatever knife feels best in your hand, that's the one you should get. But I like Henkel or Wüsthof, the European German-made knives. The steel is really high quality. I also love Japanese knives. So I have some Global brand and some other brands. And they also do a really nice job with that high carbon stainless steel. And they'll last forever. You don't put them in the dishwasher, you hand wash them, and they're beautiful knives. Okay, you guys, I hear my bacon sizzling. So I'm just going to give it a stir and turn the heat down, but I'm coming back to chop this onion with you. Okay, let me know if you are having trouble hearing with that lovely bacon cooking. So with an onion, I'm just taking my medium onion and I'm going to cut that stem end off. I want to leave the root end on. So stem end is off, and then I'm going to hold it carefully and cut through that root end. And I know you've probably seen lots of chefs and things on YouTube and TV with people cutting onions. So this may just be a little rehearsal for you. But if you haven't, this is such an easy way to cut an onion. Now, because it's in half, I can pretty easily get that skin off with my fingers or your knife, whatever you prefer to do. Pull the skin off, and then we can slice and dice. So it calls for a cup of onions, finely diced, and that, I'm guessing, just because I've cut a lot of onions in my day, that this onion is going to be the right amount. And if you can eyeball it, do it. If not, get out your 1 cup measuring. All right, let's see, we're in the close-up. I have my root end. I'm going to take my knife and start making small incisions almost to the root. You can curl your fingers under, and we have that nice flat surface of the onion to hold it steady. And with onions, sometimes I like to grip it and cut between my thumb and finger so that I know exactly where the knife is. So let's see. And the smaller or closer together you make those slices, the smaller your onion dice are going to be. So you can see they are definitely less than 1/4 inch thick. And then you just cut across. Some chefs will have you cutting into it, but I just don't think that's necessary. You get a beautiful little dice just like this. Oh my goodness, whose onions are making them cry? This one is a really strong one. I'm gonna be tearing up here.
Must be a fresh one.
Woo, right? Well, I'll tell you a story about onions. I'll cut this other half. So I went to an onion farm many years ago and learned so much about onions, and it was a Vidalia onion farm. And they taught us all about how they breed onions, and that chemical that makes you cry, they can breed it out. So some onion varieties have more of that chemical than others, and that's why we cry on some and don't on others. And so the more they can develop those new varieties of onions, the less we will cry.
It's fascinating.
Let's see. And I think it's fascinating. Onions, obviously, like many other things, have seasons. But like apples, onions are one thing that they keep in the temperature and air-controlled facilities for up to over a year. You can keep onions out of the ground, and then they're just supplied to the stores all the time. It's fascinating.
Tara, Sheldon has said that he doesn't have an onion in his presence, but he's tearing up at the beauty of this cutting process.
Thank you, Sheldon. I'm very teary right now. If you could see my eyes, oh my goodness. So we'll both cry together. And I keep backing up and stirring my bacon, so I hope you guys are as well.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to make a quick technical announcement, which is if you are seeing all of everybody's little tiny pictures on your screen and not seeing the close-up, you can look up at the top right-hand corner if you're on a computer. I'm not sure what it is on an iPad or a phone, but if you look up at the top right-hand corner and click on what is gallery view versus speaker view, if you click on speaker view, then you'll be able to see what Tara's doing a little bit better.
Thanks, Laurel. Okay, and you would never see me do this in cooking school at Utah State University using a garlic press. But guess what? I've learned it's super easy to use a garlic press. They made us mince all our garlic by hand. Can you believe it? But that's just what you do in cooking school.
We do have 2 more onion questions.
Oh yeah, shoot.
The first one is, is it true that if you freeze your onions for 30 minutes, it removes some of the potency?
Yes and no. So as I explained, the onions come as they come. They will come with more of that chemical or not. And all of those things that, you know, wearing goggles or lighting a candle or cutting near a gas flame or something like that, they really technically don't work. They may work for you sometimes or not. But freezing doesn't really help because all that's doing is it's making it cold so that gas, when you cut, the chemicals don't necessarily spread as quickly when that onion is colder like that. But you also run the risk of freezing your onion and breaking down the molecular structure of the onion. And then you're gonna have a soggy onion and blah, blah, blah. So I would suggest not. If it works for you all the time, great, do it. But I think it's just because you're getting different onions. And so sometimes they make you cry and sometimes they don't.
The other question that I had is for storing onions. You talked about storing them commercially, but in terms of storing them at home, is it true that you're not supposed to store them in certain places or next to certain foods?
Sure. I mean, so many fruits and vegetables have that issue. So like potatoes, don't store them in the fridge. They actually develop a certain chemical that creates a slight poison in them and they turn green, and that green needs to be very peeled off. But you don't want to put potatoes in the fridge. Onions, you can put in the fridge, but they really like just a cool, dark place that's not so cold. So I keep them under a table in the corner of my kitchen. And the floor is cold enough that it keeps it like that. But if you've got a basement, food storage room, you can keep your bag of onions down there and just bring a few to the kitchen when you need them. But really, onions are a cool, dark place. That's it. So don't put them by a heat vent. Don't store them by the oven. They'll ripen. And because they've been stored from the farm, they will continue to change and ripen and change their, grow roots and things like that. So cool and dark. Hope that answered the question.
I think so. And then in terms of jarred minced garlic, is there any difference in jarred versus fresh to be aware of?
Sure. So your jarred minced garlic or the garlic pastes that you might buy are, they have preservatives and, whether it's citric acid or some sort of salts or preservative that they put on them, it changes the flavor. It just doesn't taste the same to me. I do buy the packages of peeled garlic cloves and they will stay in my fridge. I put them in a Tupperware container in an extra baggie, but they'll stay for 2 to 3 weeks and I'll just use what I need to. But those garlic pastes and the jarred garlic, they're just going to taste different. They don't taste as fresh, but they're fine if you need that convenience. But I would go for the peeled garlic instead. I'm going to move my close-up camera while, if there's any other questions, let me know.
I think we're caught up. This is
Oh, good.
great.
Okay. We're going to, don't get seasick as I move around a little bit. There we go. All right, and now you can see it, but that's all right. Yeah, I'll have you switch to the close-up and then show you the bacon's cooking. If you have a moment, please measure out all of your other spices and seasonings. Like I've got my brown sugar, my molasses, my paprika, salt and pepper. We can do it the last minute. But we are just cooking this bacon. You can see in the corner, let me tip this pan. What we are doing, and I've neglected this a little, so it's got a hot spot in the middle. So that should be okay if I don't let it burn anymore. It's just a nice brown bits that are going to be so delicious. But what we're doing is we're rendering the fat from this bacon. And you can do this with bacon, you can do it with pancetta, which is a nice cured Italian style bacon. And to render the fat, meaning separate the fat from the meaty parts, you want to cook it sort of lower and slower. So we're almost there. You can see that some of that fat is getting crispy. It's sort of melting off into the bottom of that pan. And soon, when most of that fat is melted off into the bottom of the pan, we will take the bacon out and use that bacon fat as our cooking oil. So in the meantime, I have I'm going to come show you in my close-up, and then we can switch back to our regular camera. I have my beans, and one of my shortcuts to this recipe is using canned beans. Canned beans are fantastic. And I definitely like if you can find some with low sodium, those are always nice as well. Then you can add your own salt. But I just drain the beans. You don't even need to rinse them. And I'm using Great Northern beans. I don't know, you may have found the, what did I call for? The navy beans. And I'll tell you the difference. They're both small white beans. Great Northern beans, you totally don't have to remember this because in reality, they are very versatile and can be swapped out for each other. But Great Northern beans are they have a little tougher skin, thicker skin, I should say. And they're a bit more hardy. Navy beans have a little tender skin and they're a little smaller and very, very soft and lovely. Both are great. They're both small white beans. But they are different. They're different beans, and that's why you see the variety in the stores. You may prefer one over the other, but that's all. So these are great little white beans, and you think, well, wait, we're putting white beans in baked beans? Baked beans are red. I thought it was red beans. Nope, all the delicious stuff that we put in is going to turn them red. So that molasses, the little bit of tomato, ketchup, all of that. So I've got my beans. I have my 1 can of diced tomatoes right here already. And I had a 28-ounce can, so I just separated it. And we've got the Worcestershire sauce, pinch of ground cloves. I'm going to add that to my paprika right now.
We want another insider secret, Tara. Do you have a favorite brand of canned beans?
Oh, not really. In fact, I get different brands than you get out west. So I love Goya. Goya beans are fantastic, and you can get them there and I can get them here. But here I have a few different brands. I think it's Progresso canned beans. I think they have a little too much sodium, but they're fine. But no, I love Goya. Or honestly, I've got an Instant Pot, and I will cook my own in the Instant Pot from dry beans, and it's so easy. So it's just personal preference, whatever you like.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm doing black pepper right now. I've got my half teaspoon of black pepper. I'm just adding it to all the spices so I can add everything at once. And then, where's my salt? I put my salt aside because I was keeping it away from the pork, wasn't I? All right. How is everyone doing? If you're cooking, take 1 second and come on over and let us know how you're doing. And if you're not cooking, enjoy the demo. All right, my ketchup, super easy. It's just 1/3 cup of ketchup. And ketchup has a lot of sugar. So I am adding extra sugar to this recipe, but I'm adding brown sugar. So you get that sort of caramely, molassesy taste. But ketchup adds that sweetness as well. And it has spices and vinegars and things. So it's great that way. And then I'm just gonna add it here, a couple of tablespoons of mustard. And I'm going to eyeball it. And why is it that mustard always squirts when you try to, no matter how full the jar is, right? Okay, I can hear my bacon isn't snapping as much. So let's switch over to the other camera, and we'll take that bacon out. Woo! Yep, some of those pieces got a little charred. So you can use a slotted spoon, or I have this little slotted instrument that I use, a little sieve. And I'm just going to pull that out, and then immediately, because I've got all those delicious brown bits on the bottom, immediately I'm going to get my onions and garlic into that fat. So in they go. And we just want to stir it around, and you can see those onions are going to pick up all of those little brown bits on the bottom, and that's great. It's flavor, and it's going to be so delicious. So stir those onions around and coat them with that bacon fat. That will help them cook evenly. And then I've got that on low. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit so we can get the onions to soften and go translucent. That is what we're going to be looking for. So we can finish measuring our other ingredients while we do that. You can see, there we go. And we've got 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Now, here's the thing. Worcestershire sauce is so fantastic. If you've heard of umami, it's that 5th taste. It's almost an undescribable savory taste. And it happens in foods that are fermented or have like a unique salty flavor. And Worcestershire sauce is one of those that is a fermented sauce. And so it has the umami. A couple of tablespoons make such a big difference in this recipe, and it adds that undescribable savory flavor. So I kind of love to add a little splash of it to my gravies or other sauces, but use it sparingly. It's great in baked beans with 2 tablespoons, but if you're adding it to other things, you'll want to use it sparingly. And then bay leaves. My bay leaves are big, but I love the flavor of bay leaf. So I definitely add 2, even if they're big. If your bay leaves in your spice cupboard have gone gray and they have no flavor and no smell, replace them. I can smell these bay leaves when I open up, even though they're dry. When I open my container, I can smell sort of that leafy, licoricey, almost like sweet flavor. And that's what you want in your bay leaf. Okay, let's check those onions. I'm gonna turn the heat up. Now the brown bits, I'm gonna tip this pan so you can see in the close-up. Let's see, are we back to the close-up? You can see the brown bits are sort of pulling away, and the onions are really helping clean them off the bottom of that pan. And that's what we want. All of that caramelized brown bits is flavor from the bacon. If it gets too dark and burned, yes, it's burned, and you want to clean that out before you use your pan whenever you're doing something like this, but we're in a good place right here. Let's see, any other chats or questions?
No, you're all caught up, but I'm starving. Man, now I want to be.
Oh my gosh, I know you're in a bad place, Laurel. You're moderating, so you can't be cooking long. And I have to say, it smells so good in here. I've got ribs cooking in the oven. I have all this stuff going on. And I'm going to start adding my liquid now. If we switch back, I'm going to take these over, switch back to the close-up. You can tell those onions are starting to get soft and they're looking a little bit translucent. And I am just going to cheat a little bit and add my liquid ingredients, maybe 1 or 2 minutes early here.
So we do have another question that you can just talk as you're adding. When you're developing recipes, how many times do you make a recipe before they are added to the cookbook or one of your posts?
Oh, good question. And the answer is it's always different. So it depends on the recipe. I have had recipes that work right away, first try, I get all the measurements down, the timing's great, and then other recipes I have to make 5, 6, 7 times. But typically I would say the average is about 2 to 3 times. I guess that's not really an average, it's a range, but 2 to 3 times I will make a recipe before I'll allow it to be published or want it to be published, because that means I've cross-tested it, I've checked the timing. I make sure that it looks like my picture, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I'm going for, and it takes a few times.
As you said, there's an awful lot of work that goes into a cookbook.
Oh, it really is. And we shot, I just took all the pictures for the next cookbook the last few weeks. And so we shot about 104 recipes. So you can imagine when I test those, I have to make 104 recipes again and make sure that they're written perfectly so that everyone at home can make them as well. All right, this is looking good. I hope you can see the close-up rather than, the back of me. I don't mean to be turning my back on you guys, but if you can see in the close-up, it's saucy. It's looking like a baked bean base. It's red. Let me tip this a little bit so you can see it. See that? It's looking good. And now I'm going to add the beans. And those beans will just get coated with this beautiful sauce. And then they get to sit in it and simmer and cook for a while.
Everybody who's on this call in Utah, I think we should plan on a tailgate for Friday, and we should serve ribs and baked beans and just have a nice little party.
Do it.
And this is a quick question for our alumni team. Will you be sending out an additional email or kind of a follow-up email with the recipes? I think a couple of these were missed. They can throw the answer into the chat.
Great. I hope so. I believe both of these recipes are on my website, tarateaspoon.com. But yes, the Alumni Association can send you that PDF that has both of them at the same time, and the grocery list and all that. But if you ever want to make them again. And then what I was going to say is, Laurel, good idea to have a tailgating party, because both of these recipes you can actually make ahead. So slightly different, but these beans you can make ahead, several days ahead, keep them in the fridge and then reheat them. And I just suggest adding a little water or broth when you reheat. And they store perfectly. Okay, you know, the one thing I forgot, which is in the close-up camera right now, is the bacon. And I'm going to put almost all the bacon in. I'm just going to leave a little bit, and that's my little secret for garnishing. So you could certainly put it all in, but I like to keep a little bit of that crisp bacon aside for when I serve it. I just sprinkle it right on top, and it just makes it look a little more finished and beautiful.
So I did notice, in addition to the really nice flavors that your recipes have and bringing together a lot of different things, you also make really pretty food. Like you are, the way you style your food is lovely.
Well, thank you. I have learned that over the many years of my profession, how to do food styling. And like Kristen said, I had asked my professor at Utah State, who makes the food in these magazines? Who makes the food look pretty? And we realized it was food stylists, and food stylists make food for photography. And so that's what I have done for much of my career, is done food styling. And I've done it for advertisements, for magazines, for books. And you have to think about what the food looks like from the very beginning when you first start making it. So if I were to make the baked beans for a photo shoot for food styling, I would have cooked extra bacon, and I would have hand picked out the pieces that I would have put on top. And I would think about what am I serving this in for the photo? What should it look like, etc. And so, yeah, food styling is a little bit different than just cooking at home, for sure.
There's another good question that it is about flavors. I'll just read the question directly. I love the way you experiment with all kinds of unique flavors. What resources would you recommend for flavor pairings for recipe development? And what are your favorite flavor pairings? Say that 3 times fast.
Good question. And I have had that question quite a bit. There is no main resource for flavor combinations or flavor pairings or how to start recipe development. It really is just experience. And maybe you have a chef or a cookbook author or somebody that you follow and you like their recipes. Start to be much more aware of the combinations that they use. And also ethnic food, different types of cuisine. Start to be more aware about what combinations of spices go into those preparations. So Mexican dishes, I've got it. It's one of my favorite combinations, but I know that I want to pull out my coriander, my cumin, probably chili powder or cayenne, and often garlic powder. And I know I always just pull those spices out of my cupboard when I'm starting something, Latin American or Mexican, because those are a great combination. I also love combinations like thyme and a nuttier cheese like Gruyere. So if you're making a potato dish, those pair perfectly with potatoes. Rosemary is really delicious with roasted vegetables or potatoes because you get the sweetness and the starchiness and then that rich herbiness. So just start to see what you like and add to it. Maybe you love that thyme and Gruyere, but what if you added a little coriander or basil You know, do you like that freshness? Do you like that sort of lemon essence of the coriander, things like that? And just start to experiment. So those are some of my favorite ones. And then Laurel mentioned the salad dressings in my cookbook. I have, I think, 4, 5, 6 salad dressing recipes in there. And those are some of my favorite flavor combinations. And they really come out in salad dressings because you want that intense flavor because it's going on a salad. So take a look at those and just have fun and experiment.
Those are great places to start.
Awesome.
And it looks like we have a PDF with the recipes that you can click on and download in the chat.
Perfect.
And if you have questions, you can throw those into the chat and I'll keep interrupting you.
Oh, perfect. Okay, and I am, if you still see the close-up camera, I put the lid on that and I can hear it bubbling in there. I'm just going to turn it really low. You can put it in the oven at this point, but the oven is a different temperature than your ribs. So for tonight, I'm going to cook these beans on the stovetop, and they take about the same amount of time, a little bit less, but you just want to make sure that you're stirring them every maybe 10, 15 minutes. Take that lid off, give them a little stir, put the lid back on, and make sure they're just kind of bubbling and simmering, not boiling. That will be too much, but just kind of a low simmer. And so we will stir them every few minutes. But I have some that I'll show you that I cooked earlier. But right now, I kind of want to move on to the ribs. So I'm going to show you the last bits of the rib preparation. So let me clear my workspace off so I have room, and we'll come back and do rib stuff.
I think you get the absolute prize for all the magic you create in that little tiny space.
It's true. Well, thank you. Thanks for noticing. I've had smaller kitchens in New York City, and this one is a luxury, if you can believe it. But no matter where you live in New York City, everything seems miniature. Even the big, studio apartments in Soho will have tiny kitchens. So you just can't win kitchen-wise here.
Well, it speaks to your skill set to be able to use the space you have and make it work.
Thanks. Well, for many years, working at magazines, I had giant test kitchens at my office, at the magazine offices. And so I had the luxury of having so much fun equipment and space and extra fridges in these beautiful test kitchens. And now I don't. So I have it all in my tiny apartment, and I have a studio that I keep extra equipment in. So yeah, it's a different life without a magazine test kitchen. All right, I'm going to show you these delicious ribs that I cooked earlier. So let's see, I'll move my close-up camera so that you can have both views. Let's see, there we go. That's pretty good for jarring you around a bit. These have been out, I would say, for about an hour or so. And I just want to show you, you probably will get some browning on that aluminum foil. And those ribs look cooked. I checked these earlier, and my goodness, they were in for about an hour and 20 minutes, and they are falling off the bone. The meat is so tender. And so I could barely maneuver them. So what you're going to want to do, I'm turning the broiler on right now. So if you are at this stage, you can heat your grill, or if the ribs are almost finished, you'll want to heat your grill if it's outside on the back porch or wherever it is, and get ready to sort of sear these and caramelize them. I'm heating my broiler, so if you're inside, you can use one of those big double burner grill pans, or I'm just going to stick this right in the broiler with the aluminum foil and everything. So what I'm going to do is just fold this foil down around that meat so it's not obtrusive. If you are putting this on the grill, you'll want to grab a couple of maybe tongs or something, and you'll just gently sort of tip this onto the grill grates. And what you're doing is you just want some of that grilled flavor. We're not smoking these. Your barbecue sauce is going to have plenty of delicious smoke flavor and sweetness and tanginess, but we're just getting the caramelization to happen. So I'll get a little of that in my broiler, but not as much as your hot grill outside. So I just wanted to show you those. And then in the next little bit, I will throw those in, get a little char. We'll put our barbecue sauce on, and that's our 3 ingredients: ribs, salt, barbecue sauce. So easy. And then these are going to fall off the bone. You can slice them into smaller portions and serve them.
Tara, what might you end up serving alongside these? So you've got your baked beans, you've got your ribs. What else would you put on the table?
Great question. Oh my gosh, I could come up with a whole list. Mac and cheese, coleslaw, a salad, fresh fruit platter, whatever, you know, you would maybe serve at a barbecue or want to eat alongside it. Potato salad, macaroni salad. This is your traditional sort of grill, barbecue, backyard barbecue flavors. So all of those things would be really delicious. Corn on the cob. I know we're a little late for that, but we can still get some fun fruit. And all of those, you know, salads and macaroni salad and fun sides that go with it.
And it's a good time. I've got some good news. Everybody who is here tonight got entered into a drawing, and we have 5 cookbooks that you've signed for us to give away. Is this a good time for me to share the good news?
Yes, that's exciting.
It is exciting. All right, so what we need to have you do is send a message to Tech Help with your address, if you would. So what you'll do is you'll go to chat and you'll just select Tech Help and then send your address, and only the Tech Help will get your address, so you're not sharing it with everybody on our evening. So get ready. These are the 5 people: Jenny Jaggy, and if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. Aldine Jepson, Linda Thatcher, Clark Jarrett, and Sydney. So again, those 5 people, and you guys will love this cookbook. It is such a great cookbook.
Thank you. Congratulations. I'm excited to get those out to you. And if you already have it, great gift for the holidays. So you're all prepared. All right, I'm going to get these. Unfortunately, my tiny New York kitchen, I'm going down to the bottom broiler of my oven. That's where I'll be.
Okay, while you're down in that tiny little broiler, we have another question for you. What are you going to do with all these ribs? Do you have some leftover suggestions once you've made all these ribs?
Well, there won't be too many. I have a few neighbors that have been smelling them all day, and they're going to pop in when they're done. And then, like I said, they're great leftovers. These beans can reheat so easily, so they can be eaten with different meals. You know, grill some chicken another night and serve them with the beans. But the ribs, they will also stay. You can then sort of break the meat off the bone and put it on a salad or a baked potato. So you can actually make multiple meals with any leftovers. But I was going to say, at that point where the ribs were already cooked and in the foil, that is the point that you would make them ahead. So if you're making them a day ahead, you could leave them wrapped in foil, let them cool, stick them in the fridge. And then when you're ready to serve them the next day, put them in an oven for about 20-25 minutes to warm through, then unwrap them, grill them, and you've got less work on the day of.
Well, you must have the luckiest neighbors in New York City. There probably are applications. Can I be Tara's neighbor?
It's how I make friends. So yeah, that's my only bartering tool for making friends. I just feed them. And I see you have quite a few. Funny.
How long do you estimate that your leftovers last in the refrigerator for these 2 meals, or for these 2 dishes?
The ribs, I would just do 1 day ahead. I wouldn't, 1 or 2 days. If you're serving them on a baked potato or something like that, they can be up to a couple of days in the fridge. But the beans will last about a week. So they'll be great. And if we can switch to the close-up, I'll move these beans over so you can see our texture and our color. Let's see. There we go. All right. If you see my close-up, everyone, if you need to click on it, go ahead. But these are the finished beans. And you can see how thick that sauce got and how colored the beans got. They really look like your classic baked beans, and they smell just like that traditional, you know, sweet, savory baked bean that you love. And so those are ready. Those are the ones that I made earlier. I'm going to pop over here to the stove and give my other beans a stir. And they are boiling a little bit more than I want, so I'm reducing that heat. And this is like those last minute things. I'm going to grab the ribs. All the things are going on. Now you're probably at the point, your ribs are in the oven. A couple of you that are cooking, your beans are still, you know, going strong. If your ribs get done, you could certainly transfer the beans to the oven, but I think they're just as successful on the stovetop. So, all right, you guys, I'm about to bring these ribs over and they're amazing. So let me move that. And we'll bring these over. So glorious. You can see I got some of that barbecue-y char on top just from the few minutes in the broiler. Then I'm going to add the rest of my barbecue sauce. And here's the thing, you can use your favorite barbecue sauce. You can make a homemade barbecue sauce. I have recipes on my website. But that's the nice thing about these, is just a store-bought barbecue sauce is still really delicious on these ribs. And then let's show you how they just come apart. I'm going to grab some tongs. Tongs are one of my favorite kitchen tools. If you don't have little tongs, big tongs, medium tongs, I'm telling you, grab a few. I use them all the time. Oh, you can see how that meat is just so tender. It's flaking off. And it's just falling right off the bones. If you like it like that, this is the rib for you. If you can see in the close-up camera. So beautiful. So I'm going to put a few servings right here on the plate. And for those of you cooking, if you've got any last-minute questions, let me know. I'm about done because I have these finished dishes.
It looks so good.
Good.
I made plum chipotle barbecue sauce, and I think that I'm great. For the first time, I bottled some this fall with some garden plums, and I think I'm going to have to make ribs. It'll be the perfect hold for that barbecue sauce.
It sounds amazing. Oh, how fun. All right.
All right. Somebody's asked if you can tell us anything about your next cookbook.
Ooh, good question. I can be sort of vague and sort of tell you some things. So there's my ribs and baked beans. So the next cookbook is similar to the last cookbook in that it will be a mix of recipes. And of course it will have a lovely giant dessert chapter and a really big main dish, you know, simple dinners for the weeknight and more special dinners for weeknight or weekends and entertaining. But there will be a lot more food for entertaining and food for gathering and whole dinner menus that you can just kind of look and say, oh, there's all my side dishes, there's my main dish, there's everything. So I hope that will be sort of like a fix for your entertaining conundrums.
That sounds great. It sounds like some of the questions, the kinds of questions we got tonight. Like, what would you put with this? It sounds like you're answering that for us.
Well, it's funny. It kind of came, the idea for that came from my brother. I said to one of my brothers, I said, what do you want to see in my next cookbook? And he said, just tell me what to make. You know, if I'm making turkey dinner or if I'm making something on Sunday for the family, just tell me what side dishes to make, what to serve with it. I don't want to go to the work of figuring it out myself. And I thought, well, how great is that? I can put those things together and help you create a wonderful meal.
And you said that's coming out next, but in a year from now?
Yes, in a year. Can you believe it? So we'll
Right,
stop
everybody.
talking about it for a while. And
We'll have to hold tight. We'll have to cook all the recipes in this existing cookbook, and then we can look forward to the next one.
yes, yes. And I'm going to taste these for you because they're right here in front of me.
Oh,
But I love it. And I can really tell the difference between the navy beans and the Great Northern beans. So tonight I used Great Northern, and they do have a little bit more chew. The navy beans sort of melt in your mouth a little bit more, but they both bring all that flavor. They have a great flavor and absorb all of the different ingredients in the beans. So
we have another chat item. You just got featured in a magazine, and it's your famous floating ghost cupcakes, which are fabulous. What other Halloween treats are you looking forward to making this year?
oh, yes, it's so exciting, if I can say it. I was in People magazine this week, so it's still on newsstands until Friday. And so People magazine has my little face in it and my little ghost cupcakes. But for Halloween, I have spent so many years making elaborate treats for my blog and for recipes and for magazines and publications. And so this year I'm keeping it a little bit simple. I think I get to make my eyeball cupcakes that are on the blog for a TV segment I'm doing next week. And then otherwise, I might be doing like Rice Krispies and chocolate lollipops, keeping it simple.
I think that's fair. You get to take that every once in a while.
Right?
And
but I would love to see what everyone else does. So if you make any, like my Kit Kat cake is so popular. The inside looks like the layers of the Kit Kat, and then on the outside, they're all the Kit Kat bars. Or if you make any of my cupcakes or Halloween treats, just tag me in social media. I would love to see it and share it.
good. And you know what? You should all do that as well for this. If you make this amazing meal and, tag not only Tara, but also Utah State alumni, and then we can kind of share along with what we are doing. And Sheldon has said, pretty impressive to have a way to prepare fall off the bone charred ribs in 90 minutes or less. It is pretty darn impressive.
Hey, look at that. Let's see. I can put it right here and show you. Well, thanks, Sheldon. And yes, look, that bone just comes right out. If it wasn't so messy, I would dig in right now, but you don't want to see me eating these. I'm excited to dig in and get like a wet napkin.
Question about what hashtags would you want us to use for?
So for me, you can hashtag Tara Teaspoon or just tag @TaraTeaspoon.
Okay.
And then for you, I think it's just @USU Alumni. Is that right?
I think so.
And I don't know if Sheldon has any other hashtags, but if you tag people, both of those, then we can share it.
Utah State alumni was added, and then
Utah State alumni spelled out. Perfect.
You would think I would know that. I'm sorry, you guys.
Me too. I tagged it several times the last few days. So.
And then where can we sign up to get your newsletter?
Newsletter. So on the PDF that you have, there is a link. If you pull it up on your computer, it should be a live link. If it's not live, you can kind of copy and paste. But on the homepage of tarateaspoon.com, there is a sign up block where you can sign up for my newsletter. And please do. My newsletters are not just copy and pasted from my blog or anything. I write notes, I give extra tips, I put up exclusive recipes. And it's really a place that I can connect with you, because you can just hit reply and I can reply back as soon as I can. But my newsletters are really fun, so I would love that.
You're so great. How come you're so wonderful?
Oh, you're so nice. Thanks.
Aggie family. Love it.
Right? It comes from Utah State. And I just saw somebody pop up, we need to do another cook along. I didn't see the rest of that comment. I would love it at a future, even when the cookbook comes out, the next one, that would be so fun.
Oh, we would love that. That's so great. This has been such a nice night, such a great way for us to be together as Aggies and connect all across the globe. It's just amazing that we have so many people here and connecting from all over. And thanks for joining us in our kitchens and doing this and being such a wonderful representative for Utah State.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm coming in close to the computer because I want to see the gallery if anybody's faces are up. But not many people have a camera on, but I see a Maddie and some pictures.
Your camera's on so that we can all say hello to everybody.
Yeah, I'd love it. But thanks for joining, and I hope you guys cook this dinner if you didn't tonight. It's so fun and just a great fall, yummy food. Hi, Ashley. I'm seeing people pop on. Bernice. Oh, great. I love it.
It's so great to see your faces, our alumni across the world. And congratulations again to those of you who won the cookbook. If you have not done so, make sure you get your addresses so you can get your cookbook. And oh, I forgot to mention that we are all winners tonight. We are all going to get a teaspoon, an alumni teaspoon sent to us. So look in your mail for that. And Sheldon, is there anything else that we need to add in? Okay. Well, we will all be enjoying your dinners in the coming weeks. And thanks again, Tara, for this really fun night. And thanks to the alumni for bringing us all together. Go Aggies.
Thanks, moderating Laurel. Thanks, everyone. Be in touch.